Hi, thank you for joining us on the Can of Corn podcast. This is episode 1. My name is William Wilson, and I'm with my co-host.
Eric Harper.
How you doing today, Eric?
I'm doing well, thank you, William. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. So on today's episode, we're going to talk about the new 2020 rules and how we feel about them and our personal opinions. And also, in light of it being Jackie Robinson Day last weekend, we're going to talk about Jackie Robinson and what he meant for the game and how we as fans and the players can continue his legacy. So let's just jump right into it. The new 2020 rules. Now, 2020 has been a weird year, a horrible year, and because of the shortened season and the new COVID rules, we have a bunch of different rules in the league, and it's a big departure from the traditional stuff that we normally have. So let's just get down to talking about them. First of all, universal designated hitter. How do you feel about that?
I'm not a big fan of that rule. I'm hoping that it doesn't stick around for seasons in the future. I like the different leagues having the different rules regarding the designated hitter. I think if you take away that completely, then you lose out on some great baseball moments like Bartolo Colon hitting his first career home run, that sort of stuff. If this rule was in place, we wouldn't get to see some really cool stuff like that.
I completely agree. I do like that there is more chance for offense, but to your point, it's a nice differentiator between the leagues. In pretty much every professional sport, the leagues are the same. In NBA, you have Eastern Conference and Western Conference. They're exactly the same. In NHL, exactly the same. So having baseball having this differentiator between the two leagues is a really nice, like, traditional nod to the past. But also, like you said, I think we do miss out on some of those Bartolo Colon moments, and that was a moment. Yeah, I mean, I hope it doesn't stick around, but I think it's been pretty fun to watch. It's been a departure from the norm. Runner on second in extra innings. How do you feel about that?
That also is another rule I'm not a big fan of. I definitely understand the need to shorten the games with so few days off, but I think it skews some stats. Obviously the relief pitcher that comes in, they're not going to be charged with an earned run because of it, but it definitely would lead to a loss. And so I think you're going to see some stats that are skewed if I'm on the mound and I lose on a runner that I didn't put there. I might be a little bit upset. I don't know if players really think about that stuff when they lay their head down at night, as far as their stats at the end of their career. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of that one.
Yeah, for this rule, I'm on the fence. It is nice that it would not completely avoid, but do a very good job of avoiding, like, the 19 inning games. I love baseball, but that's a little bit too much of baseball for me. It's definitely not a purist idea, and I do consider, and I think you consider yourself as well, a baseball purist. And I do see the positives in it, though, is in that there won't be these endless games, and it won't set clubs back. And when I say set clubs back is, you're not going to blow out a bullpen in one game and then have to call up a couple guys to come pitch for you.
Exactly.
And if you've got an early game the next day, like it's a getaway game the next day, you're not going to have a bunch of guys that were out there till 2 in the morning. Especially us here on the West Coast. It's when those games run to midnight, 1, 2 a.m. It's difficult. I can't imagine being a West Coast fan on the East Coast. That would be rough.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, you make a good point about not blowing out the bullpen. Yeah, I'm sure the teams appreciate not having these 19 inning games exactly like you said, where they got to catch a flight 4 hours after the game ends. So I'm sure they're appreciative of that.
Yeah. Um, it does take some of the suspense away, but and you could also argue that it just puts suspense immediately in extra innings because you got that runner on second. Yeah, I'm on the fence. If it sticks around, I think it would be fun to experiment with it for maybe another year. But yeah, at this point, it doesn't matter. This year's just been so wacky.
Just another one of those stats where there's going to be an asterisk next to it at the end of the season. If someone hits 400, it's not a real 400. That sort of thing. Just yeah, one of those stats where if it stays in the past in 2020, then it'll be a fun anecdote 50 years from now.
Exactly. Sorry, Fernando Tatis. Suspended games. How do you feel about that in events where there's weather?
I am a fan of this rule. I guess me being sort of a stat head a little bit, I do appreciate that the suspended games will not have to be restarted, but they're going to be continued, of course, because you only have so many days to make up games in the shortened season. So I do like that. Yeah, they don't have to be restarted. The stats stick. Um, yeah, as a fan of stats, I would hate for uh, like Albert Pujols to tie Willie Mays for fourth on the all-time home run list, and then the game get cut short before it's official, and he has to make that up at a later time, and those stats now reset, and he's back to fifth all-time. That wouldn't surprise me to happen in 2020 if something like that were to occur. That would be another one of those funny little baseball anecdotes. But yeah, from a stats standpoint, really glad that the stats are sticking in the suspended games.
Speaking about baseball anecdotes, we're having this podcast on our Sunday, and was it Friday or Saturday that Trout became the all-time leading home run hitter for the Angels, and he beat out Salmon. So that, like we talked about, that's the only kind of thing that happens in baseball. Trout beating out Salmon.
Yeah, it's definitely the weirdest sport I think on the planet, and I think for all the good reasons.
Exactly. Yeah, suspended games, I absolutely love it. It's to not have to reset games and just pick up where you left off is something that I think they should have done a long time ago. It'll be much smoother and shorter of a process. Not only will it save the stats, but it will also allow for just like a shorter pickup game afterwards. And if I'm not mistaken, it's to when if the game becomes official after 5 innings, then they just call the game, correct? But if it's 5 innings or before, then they'll do a suspended game.
Yeah, I do believe you're correct there. Yeah.
Okay. This one, there's a couple of rules that were thrown into this season that I just didn't feel like we should talk about just because they're weird. But like the COVID rules where if you're going to argue, you have to be 6 feet apart. Obviously that's not going to carry into the future, hopefully. But the one that did stand out to me was the wet rag for the pitchers. And the rule says that the pitchers can carry a wet rag in their back pocket that only has water on it for them to wipe their fingers off in lieu of licking their fingers. I don't like this. I think it just leaves way too much room for cheating because I can't see the umpires going and checking that rag every day or before every game or before every inning even and making sure it's water. I think that leaves a lot of room for taking advantage, putting something other than water on that rag.
Yeah, I definitely agree wholeheartedly. With teams these days looking for any sort of advantage.
Houston Astros.
Exactly. If people are willing to potentially wear wires while they're up at bat or bang on trash cans, and I wouldn't put it past someone to put something other than water on their rag. And exactly like you said, who knows how often, if at all, these rags are being checked. Um, you've got guys who have had pine tar on their arms or on their neck, and really did a horrible job at hiding that in the past. Um, so, if people are willing to go to those lengths to get that advantage or, cheat, then I don't think having something, literally hidden in your back pocket, um, they're not going to use that avenue to do something. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's a pretty weird rule. I hope it doesn't stick around.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so let's move on to Jackie Robinson. I think we can all agree that Jackie Robinson did probably more for the game than any one person has done in the history of baseball. Just going to go over his stats real quick. Um, his first year in the league, obviously, he won the Rookie of the Year award in 1949, which was his third year in the league. He won the MVP award. He was an All Star 6 times, and his career batting average was 311, 61.7 wins above replacement, and he had a 409 on base percentage. In his MVP season, he batted 342. He drove in 124 runs, and he had a 43% on base percentage and stole 37 bases. And also for his career, he was 98% percent fielding percentage. Um,
Wow.
yeah, like those numbers just speak for themselves. Um, I think that for him to break into the league with everything going on, he not only had to be a good player, he had to be a great player, and these numbers just say it.
Yeah, you're exactly right, William. With him integrating into baseball, it being the first time that uh, a lot of fans have ever seen a black man on a baseball field. Um, you know, definitely, uh, some turmoil would be, putting it politely, from what he had to deal with as a player, and the fact that he won Rookie of the Year and MVP
Mm-hmm.
when he was so new to the league, obviously. Uh, in his rookie season, with everything that he had to deal with, you couldn't have said it any better. He had to be great. He had to be a rookie like baseball had never seen before. Um, a little anecdote about baseball. I know that the Baseball Writers Association of America, they've previously snubbed players in the past from winning awards just because they didn't like something about that player. So there was precedent. I'm talking about in 1924, Rogers Hornsby was left off the MVP ballot because a Cincinnati writer named Jack Ryder um, uh, didn't like his, I guess, attitude. Left him off the MVP ballot, and that robbed Rogers Hornsby of an MVP. I can only imagine what the writers thought about Jackie Robinson when he integrated in 1947, and the fact that he was awarded the Rookie of the Year, yeah, is just a testament to how dominant that season of his had to be over every other rookie. Um, and it's a shame that that was um, a burden that he had to bear. It's not fair that he would have had to be so much better than every other rookie in order to win it. Um, but that's exactly what he did with all of the pressure looming on him, um, a lot of people's hopes and dreams, kids looking up to him. Oh, here's finally a player that looks like me, and for him to shoulder all of that and then perform the way that he did, I don't think that baseball has or will ever see um, such a heroic act on the ball field as Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. The verbal beatings that he had to endure, the just name calling and the isolation. Um, the Dodgers could not stay in their normal hotel sometimes because they would not allow black people into the hotel. So the Dodgers, I think, did a great job. And this is one of the very few times you are ever going to hear me speak well about the Dodgers. But I think the Dodgers did a very awesome thing by not only bringing Jackie into their team, but also making these accommodations for him. And, the players being right there with him. I'm sure there were some players that didn't agree with this, but I'm sure there were plenty that did. So, what what can we do as fans, and what can the players do as part of the MLB to carry on his legacy and to honor everything that he's done?
I think it's important to keep spreading baseball in the inner cities. I know Major League Baseball has their RBI program, reviving baseball in the inner cities. I think that's really important. Um, Recent years, you've seen fewer and fewer black players in Major League Baseball. This year, actually, there was an uptick in the number of black players on opening day rosters. So I think it's trending in the right direction. Um, but I think it's important to make the game more accessible to everyone. I know baseball is a very expensive sport. Um, it's really a sport kind of tailored toward um, middle class suburban neighborhoods, that sort of thing with the equipment. It could be hundreds of dollars even just for a bat, for cleats. I mean, the A2000 glove, we all know how expensive,
Oh yeah,
those things can be. Um, yeah, I think spreading his legacy could be making baseball more accessible to all people. I think that in the end, that's what he would want. Um, and yeah, on the baseball field, everyone is the same. If you can play, then you should play, no matter what you look like or where you come from. Baseball is definitely a game for everyone.
yeah, completely agree. Um, I think another thing that the league can do, Jackie didn't just open this up to black players, but to players of any race or nationality, um, making this a global sport. Um, I know that there's a lot of communication and a lot of ties between like the Japanese leagues and the Korean baseball leagues. Um, and if this didn't happen with Jackie and we never got integrated, we wouldn't have some of these amazing players that we have or that we've had in the league. Um, no Ichiro. Can you imagine a baseball field that never had Ichiro on it?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, and that's such a good point of just how he not only broke the barrier for black players, but yeah, for people all over the world to come into this game. I mean, yeah, you said it so well. I imagine baseball without an Ichiro or without a Shohei Otani, without a Roberto Clemente, all of these guys. Yeah, Jackie just opened the door for them, and I don't think someone has done more for the game than Jackie. And I would say that, in my opinion, two people have been bigger than the sport of baseball. I think Babe Ruth was just sort of an entity in his own. It was just sort of transcended the game. And then the other person is definitely Jackie Robinson. I think he was definitely bigger than baseball when he played, and for someone to be kind of this godlike figure from his rookie league, from his rookie year on in Major League Baseball, it's I don't know if another person will ever do that. I think Jackie Robinson will stand alone as that sort of hero for baseball.
Yeah, I think we all have a lot to owe to Jackie Robinson. I think that every player that's ever stepped on a major league field, a minor league field, even down to a little league field, has a lot to owe to him. And I think we can all owe him a piece of gratitude for what he did and the example that he set for us. Well, this is going to be the end of episode 1 of the Can of Corn podcast. I want to thank you, Eric, for joining me and talking baseball for a little bit. This was fun.
Thank you so much for having me, William. Yeah, this was a ton of fun. I can't wait to talk some more baseball with you.
Yeah, we're going to make this a regular podcast. And if you'd like to get in contact with us and have any things that we'd like to talk about, or that you'd like to have us talk about, or have any topics that you'd like us to cover, or any questions, maybe even some tips and tricks, because we're new to this podcast thing, you can always email us at thecanofcornpodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, keep watching baseball, keep enjoying baseball, and we will talk to you soon.